Hi guys, welcome back to my channel, and today I'm going to share my January TBR. Please excuse the slight mess in the background because it's the holidays and gifts are everywhere right now around the house, and we haven't really had the chance to clean up. But I just wanted to do this before the new year just so I can share with you guys my January TBR and share some of the interesting things I did to pick out my TBR for the new year. Before we start, I just want to say that this video will be split into two parts. I filmed this video in two parts, one where I pick my TBR and the second part where I share with you what books I added to those picks. So to spice things up in my reading, I decided to wrap 8 books in gift wrap and sort of number them and then blind pick a number, which you'll see later in the video. My past me will show to you what books I picked. But yeah, I decided to do this because there's a lot of pop fiction books that I want to read but I haven't really got into, so I'm kind of forcing myself to read those before I start reading the new books I bought last year, or it's not last year, in 2023, but in this year basically, before I start reading the new ones for the new year. So I hope you guys understand that. But yeah, I picked out 3 from the 8 that I wrapped, and right now should be a good time to show you, so I'm turning the time over to past covey. So this might be the portion of the video where things change because I'm pre-recording this to pick out the first few books that's gonna be on my TBR. I'll probably do a separate video for the actual TBR because in this part I'll just be picking books. So I wrapped 8 books in my bookshelf, 8 pop fiction books in my bookshelf that I haven't read or I do want to reread in the year of 2024. So for now, I'm gonna be picking out 2 blindly, and then titingnan natin kung based sa ano mabunot ko, kung dadagdagan ko pa ba siya ng iba pang libro. So I have my numbers here. It's in a cutout index card, and I'm gonna pick out a book or a number, not a book. Okay, number 7. Let's see. So this is number 7, and let's see what's in this one. Okay, this actually is nice because it's Realized by Fallen Baby Boo Boo. In December, I did a Fallen Baby Boo Boo mini reading marathon. That's such a mouthful to say. And I finished reading A&D last month, and I wanted to continue reading the stories within the Mount Valley universe. Kasi yung mga stories ni Ate Elle na nakaset specifically sa New York. So, not A&D, Realize is one of the next books in that series of books. It's not an actual series, but they're interconnected. So, I'm quite excited to read. I think this is a reread. Yeah, I think this is a reread, but I've forgotten what has happened in this story, so it's high time. And then, let's see. Whoa! Number 1. I think it's the bottom one. Number 1. Ooh. So it looks like the next book I'm reading is Reyna ng Kamalasan Part 1, and I have the second part of this book, and I'll probably add that to my TBR as well. And since so that's 3 books on my TBR, I might add 1, so I'm picking another number. Number 3. Let's see. Oh, I think I know this one. This is because this is the thickest book. Yeah, I do know this one. It's The Bet by I Love Books, or specifically the version with Lizken on the cover. So I guess I'll add these 3 books to my January TBR. I'll probably pass this on to future Covey to actually show you what my TBR is. But these were the first 3 books I picked out to add to my TBR in January, because I'm forcing myself to read the books I haven't read in my not library, in my bookshelf, because I need to read the others before I buy any more books in the future. So passing it on to future Covey. Future Covey, it's your turn. And welcome back. I hope you enjoyed the process of me blindly picking out my TBR for this month. I plan to continue doing this in the coming months, but I do have some other plans for the upcoming months. So some picks might be less than 3 or maybe more than 3 for the next month. We'll see. But for now, let's talk about my January TBR. So outside from the 3 books I picked out other books just to fill out how much I can read for this month. And based on how much I've read from last month, it looks like I'll be able to read 5 books. So I picked out 2 other books to accompany my blind picks. The first book in my January TBR is not actually my blind pick. It's actually The Red Pyramid by Rick Riordan. So this is the first book in the Kane Chronicles, and this is my very old copy of the book, so it's kind of beat up, but yeah, it still holds up. So I won't be buying a new copy just like I did The Lightning Thief. But here in The Red Pyramid, we follow Carter and Sadie Kane. They're 2 estranged siblings, so meaning hindi sila lumaking magkakilala masyado. And this is because they got separated after their mother's death. So Carter was raised by his father, who travels around because he's an archaeologist. So he travels around the world with him. And then we have Sadie, who's the sister who grew up with their grandparents in Britain. So the thing is, one night their father comes to Britain to pick up Sadie and take them to a British museum. And in this British museum, I'm sorry, I'm having a hard time pronouncing that for some reason. In the British Museum, his father accidentally unleashes the Egyptian god Set. So this basically, I'm sorry, English is hard for me tonight for some reason. So this basically starts up their adventure because their father was taken by the Egyptian god Set. And here we see how they're actually connected to these Egyptian gods, and we try to understand what their father is trying to do in the first place. I'm quite excited to dive into this book because as much as I want to continue reading through Percy Jackson, the only reason I started rereading again the series is because I wanted to prepare myself for the show, and I feel like just reading The Lightning Thief was enough. We don't have announcements yet if season 2 is greenlit, so we'll have to wait and see. And I just decided that before I start buying newer copies of the old Percy Jackson books, I wanted to get through my backlog of old Rick Riordan books, because surprisingly, I've only read the Percy Jackson series completely, the Heroes of Olympus completely, and then the first books of the Kane Chronicles, and then the first book of Magnus Chase. So before I start continuing rereading Percy Jackson, I wanted to get through the other books in my shelf that I haven't read yet, because I need to get to those first before I start buying more books. So the first pyramid is actually gonna be a reread. This is the only book I've read so far in the King Chronicles series, and I'm quite excited because I did remember enjoying it because this is probably my third reread. I read it the first time, I didn't understand much of it. I read it the second time when I was in college and I enjoyed it more, but I don't remember much of the stuff now. And now rereading it third time, I'll be annotating the books just like I usually do, just so I can remember information more clearly when I do want to get back to the book and take notes through my reading journal. So I'm quite excited to reread this book and then continue in the next months to read through my backlog of Rick Riordan. The next book in my January TBR is my blind fic for Realize. So Realize is written by Fallen Baby Boo Boo, and this continues, or this is another installment in her Mount Valley series where everything's set in somewhere in New York. So here in Realize, we follow Maxine and Todd, and honestly, I don't really get much from the blurb on what to expect in the book, because yeah, it's just a general synopsis and it's nothing special really, I think. But I tried reading the blurb on Wattpad and it's giving enemies to lovers and a less dramatic version of Gossip Girl, which I'm quite intrigued by. So I'm quite excited to dive into this book because after reading A and D, I wanted to continue reading more books in Ate L's Mount Valley series, and hopefully I get a new copy of the book because this is the old version. Like this is very early pop fiction, like 2013 to 2015 probably, and yeah, I hope I get a new copy. It's not available online, but I hope I get a new copy through pop fiction events happening throughout the year, and we'll see if I also enjoy reading through the book. So this is actually my first time reading through it completely because I've tried reading it back then, but I don't remember much from it now. So we'll see how I enjoy the book this or in the new year. The next book in my January TBR is The Next Blind Pick, and it's Reyna ng Kamalasan Part 1 by Forgotten Glimmer. So this is Part 1 because from what I understand, Reyna ng Kamalasan is only one book in Wattpad, but in publishing they divided into two because the story is just that long. So in this book we follow Xylee, who's popular in her school because she's very clumsy and unlucky, but weirdly enough she catches the eye of top student Silver and sort of becomes her knight in shining armor. I think this book is a very generic high school setting love story. So yeah, I'm quite excited to reread through that because I did enjoy A and B, but A and D is set in New York and I think this one is set in the Philippines, so it's a very different experience from A and D, and I'm quite excited to read through this because this is probably one of my oldest purchases in Wattpad, and sadly I've lost the bookmark and I'm using Gene Tag to bookmark the place where I've been, and this is also another bookmark this is the one I'll probably use. This used to have sticky tabs on it, but now that I've already used it up, I think it's a fitting bookmark for the book because it's just small. But yeah, I'm excited to read through this because again, this is one of my oldest purchases. I think I bought this back in high school, like third year, fourth year high school, if not by that time first year college, I think. So this is one of my oldest purchases in pop fiction, and I've tried reading through it once, but I didn't really get into it at the time. But now that I'm more eager to read romance books, I'm much more excited to read through this. The next book in my TBR is not a blind pick, but is the continuation of Reyna ng Kamalasan. So I'm reading Reyna ng Kamalasan Part 2 just because I think I need to read the stories back to back. So this just continues the story of Xylee and Silver, and I didn't want to read the blurb because I didn't want to spoil myself at what happens by the end of part 1. So yeah, that's it. That's the second part of Reyna ng Kamalasan. The last book in my January TBR is The Last Blind Pick, and it's The Bet by I Love Books. So The Bet is one of the earliest books published by Pop Fiction, and I don't have that copy, but I do have the movie tie-in edition with Liza Somerano and Enrique Hill, and this is surprisingly an extended edition of the book. So in this book we follow Sophia and Drake. Drake in this book is the one who takes on the bet to make Sophia, the studious girl in school, fall for him, and that's basically the summary of the story. It's a very common trope in romance, so I'm actually not the most excited to read through this because yeah, it's like every other bet or dare trope in romance, so that's it. That's most of the story, I think. But the thing is, I put this in my blind pick because if I didn't blind pick it, I probably wouldn't pick it up anytime soon. So I'm glad that I got this pick just so I get it out of the way and I put it on my red pile in my bookshelf. Interesting thing though, the movie version or the adaptation, Just the Way You Are, is on Netflix, so I might watch that this month and just compare the two things. So compare the books to the movies and see which one is better. So that's my plans for January. As customary, I think in every TBR video, these are the 5 books I'll be reading for the new year. Again, I wanted to do blind picking because I just wanted to go through my unread stuff and then move them to the read category in my shelf before I start buying new books, because next year, or at least I'll be filming a video after this where I share my December book haul, and I bought a lot of books. But the thing is, those books don't fit in my shelf anymore, so I need to read through the backlog because the books just keep piling up. I have more books unread than books read, so that's why I'm doing this. That's basically it for the video. How about you guys? What books are you starting the new year with? I'm quite excited to read through mine because I know I'll enjoy some of them, and we'll see how I feel about the others. I think that's a good way to start the new year because it's just new experiences with all-time favorites for other people. That's everything I have for this video, and I hope you enjoyed this TBR. Share your TBR down below because I'd like to hear what books you're gonna read to start the new year. And that's everything. Like if you like this video, subscribe if you want to see more content, and that's all I have for you guys. Bye. Thanks for watching. Bye.